Today's episode of the WAC podcast is brought to you by Hercules Tires, the official tire of the Western Athletic Conference. Now here are your hosts, Eric Danner and Rachel Vigil.
Welcome back to the WAC podcast. For those of you watching our YouTube channel, it's the first time Rachel and I are in studio at the same time for the WAC podcast. And joining us on the podcast is Tatyana Battle. We're celebrating the past decade in WAC volleyball, Tatyana, and we're putting together the stats, and you're the all-time leader, or the leader of the decade, I should say, in kills and points for the Western Athletic Conference. Did you have any idea you held those titles?
Not one bit. When I got the message about it, I sat and looked at my phone for like 5 minutes, and I was like, "Are they sure? Like, there's just no way." And I was funny because I was out of practice with my coach Ben Wallace, and I showed him. And he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "No, there's no way." So it was definitely a shock. Like, I just never expected it. But it was kind of like, I guess, like, nice to know, like, oh, okay, I kind of did something good in my time. So, but I just never expected. There were so many great players that I knew and that I played against that I was like, for sure that, that was theirs. And I guess since it was 2 years ago since I finished, in my mind, I was like, okay, it's like, all the awards and everything's over. So I was definitely shocked to get this information.
When you think about your name being number one on the record books, what really goes through your head there?
Just shock for sure. I'm like, are you sure? Like, again, like, I was just kind of rejecting it at first. But I mean, it just makes me very thankful for my teammates and my coaches teaching me and building me up all the sets that I got in every game. Like, just to know I couldn't have done any of it or gotten any achievement or award without them surrounding me and helping me.
Tatyana, I had a chance to talk to you about last time was in Bakersfield, California at the WAC tournament. You're really known as an all-around player, not just kills, but getting a lot of digs. And looking back on your collegiate career, would you say that was your crowning achievement, was that tournament, or do you have some other games or matches that stand out?
I think one of our favorite ones from my senior year was when we played Arizona and beat them. Because that was like the first time in my 4 years that we had finally like crossed the line of beating a top-ranked team. We had played Arizona so many times in my career. We played them in the spring, in the fall, and so just finally being able to like get over the line of beating a higher-ranked team, I think for us was a really big accomplishment. And so I would have to say that might be one of my highest points in my career, just because I felt like the team was so connected and everybody was like on the same page. Could finally step into like taking down topper ranked teams. So,
are there any other ones that really are just like one of those big shining moments for you?
That was the top. Let me think. I mean, yeah, I guess like winning the tournament again because we had lost the 2 seasons before. So that was obviously frustrating, going in ranked number 1. And then finally my senior year, our motto was unfinished business. Going into senior year, because we knew like, we were always called to be first. And so like we felt like we'd let the fans down, ourselves down, our coaches down, not being able to pull through in those wins those 2 years, my sophomore and junior year. So we went into senior year with unfinished business, and I think because our chemistry off the court was so great, it transferred on to the court. And so just having everybody on the same page, you could just feel the fire within everybody. That was definitely a high. I mean, the whole senior season, just because of the connection.
And you mentioned the unfinished business that year. As a freshman, 2015, you guys did win the tournament, go to the NCAAs, but in 16 and 17, you lost in the tournament, coming back in 18. And I remember the performance you had, Tatyana, was one of the best we've seen in recent memory in the WAC tournament. Did you have an extra chip on your shoulder when New Mexico State took the floor in that tournament?
So actually, the tournament my senior year, for me, I felt like was like the worst I had played all year. Which surprising, like the final game, when I looked at the stat book, I hit positive. I think I had like 16 or something kills. So I was really shocked because I felt like I was just not pulling through the way that I needed to for my game. And so again, like the best part of that is when you feel like you're not doing as much as you could, your team picks you up and carries you through it. So something my coaches kept telling me was like, focus on other parts of your game. If you're not able to like get the kills right now, like focus on your digging or your serving or your communication and stuff. So being able to like have that support around you to be like how to balance it out with your teammates and everybody was really helpful. But I mean, that team, and even you saw like last year how just great they were on the court. It's because that kept you float over. So
How much do you miss that grind of the everyday of being a student athlete?
it's like half and half. Just because I don't miss being like exhausted going into class after practice or something, but I do miss being around my teammates every day and pushing each in weights or in practice or conditioning, whatever it is. Like the first few months after I finished, you know, everybody kind of goes through the like, okay, I'm done, I get to relax. And then when I came to UTEP, seeing them play, and I was like, oh, I want to go back out there. Like, it's definitely a weird transition for sure. Nobody really talks about it a lot, I think. And so being able to like be around retired athletes, like some of the coaches at UTEP, or even just my friends from state that played, being able to like talk to them about it, like how do you deal with this, like going from playing to not playing. It's definitely a weird transition, so you miss it for sure, but then it helps you to like appreciate everything a little bit more.
Now, when you were in high school, you went to high school in Albuquerque. You were the New Mexico High School State Player of the Year. You won the championship your senior year. Was there any thought of staying in Albuquerque, going to UNM or going to another school besides New Mexico State?
I had a few other offers that I was considering at the time for sure. I will say state was kind of like the most consistent with me. Um, for UNM, I thought about it like my earlier years playing. So my dad went to UNM. He played basketball there like in the 70s, and so you know there was always like, oh, like oh, where your dad went. And it was definitely weird, I guess, going to state when he went to UNM, like the rivalry and stuff. But I was kind of interested in getting away, but not being too far from home. So I mean, 3 hours is it's you know you can get home in a day, but it's still like your own city that you're in where you can kind of grow up without your parents having to be there and figure things out on your own. And so I really like that. And northern New Mexico and southern New Mexico are still pretty different in my opinion. So it was kind of like a whole new world because Albuquerque is a lot bigger, Las Cruces is a lot smaller. But yeah, I thought about you at first, but I was like, you know what? I don't want to have to like rush home if something goes wrong. Like I want to at least be able to stay somewhere where I can have the people around me to help me figure out what's going on. So it wasn't, you know, obviously it's not too far away, but I definitely wanted to get away and go somewhere else. So
That's how I was in college too. I was like, I want to get far enough away that they can't like just come up all the time, but still be close enough that if something goes wrong, you can always go back home, right?
exactly.
You mentioned your dad playing basketball though. Did you play any other sports growing up, or was it strictly volleyball?
Started off in basketball. They started me when I was 4, and I have like pictures of me when I was 4. My older sister, she actually played basketball at Texas Tech. She's older than me, so she played. I think her senior year was like my senior year of high school. So we both started off really young, but for me, I just never connected with basketball. But I did. Oh, we did dancing for a while. Tennis lessons. I did track and field for a while. My mom actually coached track for club for like 3 years. But when I was in 6th grade, she like there's this volleyball camp for Rio Rancho High School. I remember it was the summer going into 6th grade, and I was like, "What's volleyball?" Like we were a basketball family, so I didn't really even know what that was. And she took me to the camp, and I just loved it ever since. So I started playing when I was 11, and from then on, I kind of just stuck to volleyball.
Now, when you graduated from Mexico State, when you were done with your eligibility in 2018, are there professional opportunities in volleyball, and did you have anything like that?
Yeah. So my head coach Mike Jordan talked to me about like possibly playing after I was done, and he was trying to really like help me like get connected with like agents, or like he knew some of his older players had played, and so he was trying to like connect me with them and get me talking to them. So there was definitely possibilities. There's more like OBs that I know of than I know in the States, but that's just my personal knowledge of it. I think the only reason why I didn't was because my senior year I had a stress fracture in my foot. So that whole year I was actually not practicing, I was just playing. So I think after I was done, I kind of wanted to just give my foot a break and just like, move forward. So it kind of worked out because then that's when Ben reached out. He got the job, offered me the graduate assistant spot. So it all kind of like played out well. So
What was that like, not practicing but only playing? I mean, that's not like the typical student athlete life, right?
yeah, that was weird. I remember going to the doctor and he was like, I don't think she's playing on this because it could break fully at any time. And that was tough because I think I missed like the red shirt part of it by one game. Like if I wouldn't have played one game, I could have redshirted, but I had just missed the cutoff. So going to the doctor, he was like, I don't think this is smart, but if you are gonna play, you only can play and cannot practice. You can't walk on it. So I was going through campus on a little scooter, and it was hard, like not practicing. In a way, it was. I guess it's nice for your body the older you get to kind of like take some time off, but not being able to like get those reps and practice with my team was difficult. So I tried to, if I couldn't play physically, like tried to be there, just speaking to them and be encouraging to them and stuff. So that was definitely difficult, but I knew like this is my last year. I need to play. Like my team's important. We have unfinished business to take care of. So it was definitely difficult, but it was great to have like the support of my team, everybody behind me.
And then when you get done with New Mexico State, you go down the road to El Paso, and Ben Wallace, the head coach at UTEP volleyball, who had been an assistant at New Mexico State. Is that how that took place? That you wound up on the minor staff?
Yeah, so I think he got the job in either December or January. And then he found out that they could have a graduate assistant position, so he reached out to me. And I was like, wow, that's perfect because I was still trying to figure out what to do. So it was just like perfect timing of him saying like, you know what, do you want to come get your master's? Do you want to help these girls with, like the knowledge that you've been given of the game? So it's been really great for me to like be able to pass down what he's given me or other coaches have given me to these girls for sure.
Do you ever look at what your old coaches had previously done and now you see it in yourself a little bit of like transferring that knowledge to the student athletes at UTEP?
All the time. It's weird. When you receive it from them, like sometimes you don't even think about it. And like once you're trying to teach the girls, you're like, oh, I guess I was paying attention or I was listening. And so it is really cool because I guess you don't even realize how much you learn from them. Sometimes like when you're playing, it kind of just comes or they teach you and you don't even think about it. But to relay the information for sure, like makes you appreciative of all that they have given you.
So last Thursday, the Western Athletic Conference announced that we're suspending fall sports, potentially picking it up in the spring, as many other conferences have done, and the NCAA announced the fall championships would also potentially be in the spring. At UTEP, which is Conference USA, where do you stand right now? I know football, I believe, is continuing. What's the story with volleyball?
So it's changing like every day, the decisions that they're making, but I know football's supposed to play like in a month, and so it kind of depends on them playing or not. So far we have a season still. We're gonna play conference games this year, hopefully. But I mean, it could change tomorrow. It could change in the next hour. So I know like the athletic directors for all of the Conference USA schools are trying to fight for girls to play, and hopefully just conference games or even like double the conference games. I just know they want to try their best to give them a season. So, but I mean, you just never know. This year, like so uncertain. So it could change within the next hour or two. So.
Do you have any idea what the testing requirements are like for the student athletes going forward with the season?
I think so. I mean, it's been so crazy. I think they probably have to get a test every week. Trying to figure out if they have to get it like between every game is going to be difficult for sure. So I'm sure they're gonna have to like change the schedule. I've already had to get 3 tests, not because we had symptoms, but just because like being here, you gotta keep working. So I mean, that's always difficult because you don't want something going up to your brain. I mean, it's obviously for the safety of everybody. So I'm sure it's going to have to be at least once or twice a week for sure.
Now, when you initially got the job at UTEP, Tatyana, was it weird putting on the orange? And what did Coach Jordan say when you went down the street there to El Paso?
He was so funny. He was like, I can't even look at you in that. Like, don't even start with me. But at first, it was really weird. I'm not going to lie, because that's always like your rival school. So it was weird for me at first, but then I had to turn it into thinking about just the girls and the people instead of school. So thinking about like the athletes that I'm with, like thinking about how to help them rather than what's on their shirt. For sure. That helped me a lot to transition from like just blocking out who you are and focusing on the people that are there.
Are you able to stay in contact with Jordan?
Yeah, every now and then I'll text him or he'll text me a lot. Then he would message me about like how the girls were doing and stuff like that. I remember he sent me on Ainsworth, who were the seniors my senior year. He was like, I miss you guys so much. So, and last year I went to a few of the games because I was so close. But every time I go back, everyone's always so warming. It's always like a second home to go to. And I still talk to like Megan Hart. She's one of my best friends. So we'll talk like every week, sometimes almost every day. It's really, because we're busy now. I still talk to a lot of the girls, and I've gotten some great friendships, and the staff, everybody from New Mexico State is always awesome.
Tatyana, I want to thank you for taking some time out to, again, congratulations on being one of the top players of the decade in WAC volleyball.
Thank you.
I want to wish you continued success, even if it is in the orange of Utah.
Gotcha. Thank you. I appreciate you guys for reaching out for sure.
All right, that's Tatyana Battle. We also talked to Jeff Bird, and we want to thank everybody for listening to the WAC podcast.
Thanks for listening to the WAC podcast. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And check out our website at wacsports.com.